Okay, welcome everybody once more to these lectures on global political economy, or global trade and political economy. Okay, and the whole idea is we're talking about trade in the context of economic development across the world and economic well-being across the world. And we all agree that trade helps everybody. Or I'll put it this way, I mean, we do trade. The question is, how do we trade? How do we, gain from trade? Is it possible to gain from trade? And who gains and who does not gain? But our objective is to ensure that everybody gains, and this is what it is. Now, trade, comes in different forms. We can exchange goods. We can exchange services. We can also exchange the instruments of production, okay, in this case, capital. And so, for example, I don't have to come and sell an automobile between China and Japan or between China and the United States, but China can provide the technology that enables America to produce automobiles. American can provide technology that enables Nigeria or the Cameroons to produce automobiles. And so that is an item of trade. Or they can provide Sudan money to be able to purchase equipment from Australia so that Sudan can manufacture what they need. And so trade can come in different ways. And also trade can come in the form of installing the instruments of production from country to country. So this is what we're talking about. We're going to talk about multinationals today. Multinational, these multinational companies, is a form of what we call foreign investment. Okay, foreign investment or foreign direct investment is not always in the form of a company establishing in another country. Foreign direct investment can be in the form of a multinational corporation that does business in a company that is an American company, where that company has production facilities in Nigeria or in the Congo or in Tanzania. Also, foreign direct investment could also be in the form of Americans investing in shares or buying bonds in Kenya. They can invest in shares in companies in Kenya and simply collect their profits when dividends are declared. Or they can purchase bonds of companies in Malawi, and then they receive interest on their bonds. So those are different ways of resource distribution in the sense of a resource movement, not just resource distribution, but I'll call it resource movement. And so multinational corporations, are just one form of foreign investment. So I'm going to share screen. All right.
Yes, your screen is up.
Yes, go ahead. Are you seeing my screen?
No, I only confirmed that your screen was...
Your communication is breaking up.
Okay, I only confirmed that your screen was up. Oh, it's gone again.
Yeah, I took it out because I wanted to be sure, maybe your communication just went off. And so, all right. So So today, I'm going to really, just talk more about these multinational corporations and also regional trade agreements. Regional trade agreements, I just have 2 slides, but there's a lot of reading on regional trade agreements and, their place in global trade and political economy. But let me begin with multinational corporations. Multinational corporations is all part of the trend in globalization, okay? And globalization essentially has the result of I would say, more efficient communication and, much more, I would say, speedy transportation, okay? I would say it's, quicker communication, and communication would include transportation. Communication, of course, includes being able to talk to people across the world one way or another, which includes, telecommunication, written communication. And so what we have is a globalization, and it makes it possible also to identify opportunities across boundaries, okay? Now, labor and physical resources sometimes, generally, fixed. We do not encourage migration, for example, across countries as such, even though if you talk about resource movements and then, labor, if you talk about free trade, labor should be part of that free trade, but that is not really what happens. There's a lot of apprehension about the movement of labor, and especially migration of labor from one country to another. Physical resources, like natural resources, also sometimes they are relatively fixed, okay? Oil, wherever oil is, it is there. You cannot just like change the location of the ground from one place to another. And so, but capital, the instrument of production that facilitates production, is largely mobile. And so multinational corporations and different other kinds of foreign investment, like I said, investing in the shares of a company overseas, investing in the bonds of a company overseas, these are forms of resource movements. And so multinational corporations, which takes various forms and which we will talk about, now are able to really facilitate the movement of resources, and that is what they do. They facilitate the movement of resources. There are issues with them, which we will talk about later, but they're able to facilitate the movement of resources. And in what forms do they do that? Okay. Now, a multinational corporation, sometimes abbreviated to MNC, or MNCs, they're just like, a business firm, okay? They're a business firm, like a company that manufactures watches, a company that manufactures processed food, what have you. And they actually a company that says an American company, it's a Canadian company, it's a British company, it's a Nigerian company. And what they do is whatever they are doing in their, you say, mother country, the country of their origin, they try to do in another country, okay? And they can do it in a number of ways. They can do it by establishing operational facilities in another country and do exactly the same kind of thing they're doing in their mother country. A company that, say, processes food, a company that, say, manufactures shoes, could do a number of things, okay? It could establish shoe manufacturing in Ghana, even though it's an American company. They know how to manufacture shoes in America, and they manufacture shoes in America, and then they establish the same kinds of machinery in Ghana, okay? And there they are manufacturing shoes, and they are using their technology to manufacture those shoes. They develop an organization within the new country where they manufacture the same thing, That is a multinational corporation, and the company, though it's an American company or a Canadian company, can establish the same kind of facility in different countries. So they are called multinational. Okay. Now, the question then, becomes, what are the various ways? Like I said, they can establish a manufacturing plant, or they can also go into another country, see a country that is the companies that are willing to manufacture shoes in different countries, and they show them the technology, okay? And then simply say, give us a commission for every shoe that you manufacture, okay? Or they can buy shares, which enables the companies in the different countries to be able to import equipment from wherever they want. All right, so and as you can see, there are different kinds, transnational, okay, in the sense that multinational companies do not have to be particularly of a particular origin. They don't have to be particularly of any origin in any one particular country, okay? But they are all over the place, and so they don't have a particular fixed headquarters somewhere in one country, all right? Again, they can be like geocentric in the sense that they have they are limited in their regional, in the sense that they could be strictly African, they could be strictly European, they could be strictly Asian, and so they are geocentric in that sense. Okay. Of course, now in doing their kind of business, they also have faced challenges. Okay, they face a lot of challenges. Okay, and these challenges, let me just anticipate. These challenges arise because when, say, a country in the United States decides to establish a manufacturing facility in Ghana, okay, what happens? What happens is they run into, say, the political structure of the other country. Okay, they run into the cleavages of power structures in another country. Okay, and those cleavages will be anything. They could be ideological, they could be ethnically based, but besides running into cleavages of power, they also run into differences in laws and how businesses are run. They also run into cultural differences, okay? What you expect, for example, of people in your home country may not be what you can get from people in another country. And I'll give you one very good example. I remember when the Soviet Union essentially began to disintegrate, McDonald's, that makes hamburgers, established operations in Czechoslovakia. And so, of course, they introduced the fast food kind of operations there. Let's say they did other things correctly, like they used local resources, they sourced their beef from local farmers of cow and used local ingredients, but they bring in the technology of making fast food hamburgers, okay, which is actually a sandwich with a very thick, I would say, patty or slab of beef. Not really a slab of beef, because the slab of beef will be to cut, what do you call it? The flesh of beef, like a slab of meat. But, hamburger is made from crushed ground meat. Okay, so let us say they purchase their ingredients in Czechoslovakia, so they don't have that problem. But I did listen to a television news report, and one Czechoslovakian young man was interviewed, and he said, "How did it feel working for McDonald's?" He said, "Well, it's like working for an American company, but I have a problem with them. It's like you have to be standing there for 6 hours or 7 hours or 5 hours, and I mean, effectively squeeze every penny out of you that you give once they pay you. The pay is good, but the amount of work you have to do is a lot. There you go. You're dealing now with work habits. That becomes an issue, okay? The other issues that multinational corporations have faced also include complaints about their influences on the political environment. Sometimes they're accused of supporting corrupt governments, but again, you're now dealing with the issues of political cleavages and cleavages of power and power structures. And so those politicians that favor what they do and how they do it, they would favor them, okay? Multinational corporations have been accused of, for example, perpetrating pollution, okay? They extract minerals and they pollute the environment, and they are not subject in those countries to the same laws as, for example, if they were digging for crude oil in America. There will be environmental restrictions about cleaning up the environment. If they are doing the same thing in Africa or in parts of Asia, the requirement for cleaning up the environment may not be as stringent. Now, and so if individuals begin to complain about the stringency of environmental cleanup, then the multinational corporations have sometimes been alleged to support political leaders who will not impose those stringencies on them. Okay. Now, how far that is true is not for me to speak to here. I will need a lot of empirical analysis, and I'm not saying that I'm not aware or that I don't have an opinion on that, but that is not the purpose of this lecture. I'm just telling you what the issues have been. Okay. The other, other issues that have been alleged against multinational corporations is that they do not pay as well. They pay very low wages in foreign countries, especially in the so-called less developed countries. Because labor is more abundant, and so you can see a supply and demand issue there, supply and demand for labor, and so they don't pay as well. But you also realize that in as much as they do not pay as well in those foreign countries, the pay that they offer is relatively, sometimes relatively more than what the ordinary person in those countries will earn. And so it becomes a question of supply and demand for labor and also relative well-being. But nevertheless, they still feel that there's a lot of exploitation of the labor in those countries. And so they have issues there. Now, we already talked about the environmental. When I mean environmental, I'm talking here about the difference is between, say, an American company that operates in America, where there are more skilled labor available, literacy levels are higher, and cultural differences also become a factor. Like I provided an example of the young man in Czechoslovakia who said that if you work for these American companies, they pay you very well compared to what you will get in the local market. Nevertheless, they really squeeze every single penny out of you. And so the question becomes, like somebody made a joke, would you rather be tired or be broke? It's a choice, okay? Would you rather be tired or would you rather be broke? And so the question is, would you rather have a job that really, strains you and pay you very well, or would you rather have a job where you are relaxed but does not pay you very well? Now, that is an individual decision. Some people will prefer a relaxed job. They don't have to do very much, but also they don't have to require very much comfort. Okay, so those are the other issue that is levied against multinational corporations is that they really extract excessive profits. And the multinational corporations also have the issue that they want to be able to remit their profits freely. Very often, many countries sort of limit them in the what percentage of their profits they can remit outside. And so there is this requirement that they have to reinvest quite a bit of their profits in the local economy. And that goes now to this point. Now I'm going to say, good, why is it that countries ask them to reinvest some of their profits in the local economy? Well, the only way that these companies can truly grow, if you want to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals of the UNDP or the United Nations, well, the multinational corporations should contribute to the growth of the economy. Now, if you extract 100% of your profits outside of the country, then the economy will never grow, because economies grow through the extraction of surplus, and profit is surplus. And so if you do not reinvest any part of the profits of multinational corporations in the local economy, then the local economy will never grow, okay? It will never grow. You will provide labor, I mean, you will provide employment, quite all right. You will provide consumption. And the only way the economy will grow will be for the paid labor in the local economy to save some of their own money. So essentially, it's only their local savings. But it's only fair that you ask multinational corporations to also save from capital, and so that the economy grows fast. And so there's quite a bit of issue with that. And so the multinational corporations complain very much that, or at least they put a lot of pressure that they want to be able to extract as much of their profit as possible. And the complaint against them is that they extract excessive profits from the local economy. Okay, and so there are other allegations on them. Again, the foreign exchange restrictions is their own complaint, but also the allegations that they overprice resources. For example, when they pay their local, let us say an American company establishes, say, in Ghana, and they bring out, of course, an American to be, say, the managing director, or at least a representative of the American company, then they pay the representative of the American company a whole lot more money than they would have paid a local person. But also, whatever technology that they bring in, they also try to overprice it. And if they import resources, let us say that they import cotton from Sudan into, say, Sierra Leone, which does not produce cotton. And so what they would do is, if Sudan is a low-tax country, what they would do is when they import the cotton from Sudan, they will put a huge price on it, which will reduce the amount of profits they can declare in Sierra Leone, and so which will reduce the amount of taxes they're going to pay to the Sierra Leone government or on its company taxes on profits. And so they manipulate the situation in such a way that they do not fully benefit the local economies. And if the objective is to transfer resources, to provide resource movements for achieving sustainable development goals of equitable development and the reduction of poverty, the multinational corporations are not fully doing their part, okay? And so there's quite a bit of issues. Now, nevertheless, on balance, the multinational companies really have been a very good source of resource movements and global economic development. There are issues on both sides, which I suggest you explore. So now, very quickly, I will move to regional trade agreements. Okay. Now, if you look around one way, okay, let me back off a little bit. We talked about the World Trade Organization, and the World Trade Organization is designed to facilitate trade among nations and negotiate, say, the reduction of tariffs to reduce trade barriers. But those negotiations have not been quite smooth. And so what you have, the result has been like what you call regional trade agreements. Regional trade agreements are simply agreements between groups of countries in different regions of the world to facilitate trade among themselves on terms that they feel is more mutually beneficial. Okay, so for example, you have and I'm going to just list a few of them. I'll put in a new slide here. Okay, call it regional trade agreements. Okay. For example, you have the NAFTA. The NAFTA have been changed. The North American Free Trade Area. All right, this is an example. NAFTA. You have the CARICOM. Okay, this is the Caribbean Common Market. And of course, you have the ECOWAS, which is the Economic Community of West African States. Okay. You have the ASEAN, the Asian group. Okay, this is East Asia. You have the famous European Union. Okay. All right. And these are just a few examples. Central America has one. South America has its own. Okay, and so these are different kinds of regional trade agreements. The NAFTA in particular is simply an agreement between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. It's a free trade area, okay? And then you have like the European Union, which is more like a customs union. And so I'm gonna try to differentiate between a customs union and a free trade area, okay? Now, this is a little diagrammatic explanation between a customs union and a free trade area, okay? Now, now this regional trade agreement is just an agreement between groups of countries in close proximity with each other, okay? And so within a region like the NAFTA, which is US, Canada, and Mexico. Just those three countries have a free trade area. They have some kind, it's a regional agreement, okay? And so, and it can come in different forms, in a customs union or a free trade area. Okay. Now, in a customs union, what happens then is that the countries agree to collectively as a group impose the same kind of tariff against all other countries. Okay, they impose the same kind of tariffs, same kinds of import duties against all other countries. And so if you look at, say, country A and country B, which form a customs union, any flow of goods between country A and country B is free of duty. No import duties. You can export goods between them freely. Excuse me. Now, but all other countries that import goods to either A or B pay the same amount of tariff, okay? If you import automobiles, I say 10% tariff on automobiles, whether you're importing it to A or to B, country A and country B will charge you 10% tariff, all right, between them. That's the customs union. Now, in a free trade area, the country A and country B agree to trade freely, quite all right, okay? And if you meet certain standards between country A and country B, those goods are duty-free. For example, if you want to import automobiles between Canada and the United States, suppose a car is manufactured in Canada, then the Canadians must provide information that shows that 80% of the inputs into the automobile that is made in Canada come from Canadian origin, or 75% or 50%, whatever percentage, okay? And once that is the case, then the goods are imported freely between United States and Canada, all right? Nevertheless, Canada and United States can negotiate any kind of tariffs or import duties with other countries independent of each other, okay? So in that way, whatever import duty that country A imposes is based on its own considerations against third countries. The same thing for country B, okay? So that is basically the difference. And of course, there have been criticisms of regional trade agreements. Sometimes they say it's trade creating. Sometimes they say it's trade diverting, okay? For example, if a group of countries produce a good less efficiently and yet impose a common tariff on other countries, that is a trade diversion in the sense that a diverse trade from other countries into the regional group. It does not create trade. While in fact, if the countries in the agreement produce more efficiently than other countries, then they say it's trade creating. In that way, it improves efficiency against other countries. Now, again, that is something that is to be demonstrated using empirical evidence, and I'm not here to support one way or another. And in fact, I'm not even in a position to be able to say generally that there's evidence that regional trade agreements are trade creating or trade diverting arrangements. I'm not sure they are entirely so. I don't believe that they're entirely one or the other. They might be in some cases, but they may not be in other cases. The other criticism against RTAs is that they violate the most favored nation clause of the World Trade Organization, where you actually grant, if you grant a most favored nation status to another country, in fact, we want to grant the most favored nation status to everybody within the WTO. And if you do so, then you are working towards lowering tariffs or removing the barriers to trade. But then when you have these regional trade agreements where you have a customs union and you can now collectively, as a customs union, impose certain conditions on others collectively, then you might actually be infringing on the most favored nation status of the WTO. That's a criticism, again, providing that you as information, not to take sides that it's happening or it's not happening. All right. Okay. So that's the most I'm going to do today. And so, does anybody have any questions? All right. I'm hearing no questions. Now, we're going to enter into our last week. There's going to be a final examination posted on Thursday. It is going to be a written examination, okay, on Thursday the 18th, and that will be the last day to submit it. Secondly, please try to do your annotated bibliography by the 17th. Okay, we're still going to have some readings that will be due on Tuesday and Wednesday, I think. Maybe one more reading that will be due on Wednesday, or a reading that's going to be due on Sunday, and another one on Wednesday. So I'm not sure, but you're going to receive information from me tomorrow about it. Okay, so in that case, please try to finish up this class. We already done, so please try to do your best to finish everything. But there'll be an examination on Thursday. But the examination will be open as from Wednesday evening, but you must complete it by Thursday. And please try to submit your final project no later than Wednesday, August 17th. Okay, and so I'm glad that we all persevere to the end. And so I look forward to hearing from all of you. Okay, I see Benedicta joined us. Welcome, Benedicta. Hello.
Thank you, Professor.
All right. So
okay, thank you very much, sir.
Okay, do you have any other questions for me?
No question,
Okay.
no question. I just want to thank you. And then as you were describing what's happening in NAFTA, it just opened my mind to what we have in West Africa, where we have ECOWAS. But then in practice, I think in practice, the only thing that we really see as working easily within the ECOWAS is the migration part, where the ECOWAS passport is honored across all the member states. But in terms of the trade policies, it's not very clear how they work, because a lot of times I am not very sure if we have uniform trade situations across all the ECOWAS borders, even though I think in theory it should be that way too. Just my thoughts and observations.
It's not just your thoughts. Once you mentioned ECOWAS, I almost said something until you actually said it, because the ECOWAS agreement includes migration of labor, which actually, let's be honest about it, if we're talking about free trade, labor should be part of that free trade. But it is not exactly so. For example, in NAFTA, labor migration is not included as part of the free trade. And in many other trade agreements, labor movement is not part of it. Now, but that's just a philosophical thought on my part to say that labor should be part of it. But as you can see in West Africa, what seems to be working very well is the labor part of it, because once you have an ECOWAS passport, and I did have that ECOWAS passport myself, you can move freely across the borders, and it allows people to migrate. But then you also realize that in as much as your ECOWAS passport allows you to move freely across ECOWAS countries, it does not necessarily give you a work permit, because you still need a work permit to work, at least in Nigeria and in other parts of West Africa. Now, ECOWAS does not have like a custom union as such, where ECOWAS countries collectively negotiate customs against other countries. So in a way, ECOWAS has its own complications. It's more like a free trade area. It's not a customs union. And so I can understand that over time ECOWAS will evolve. This is what I think. But economic development, true economic development, is what's going to make ECOWAS truly develop into a true free trade area. And I personally, have dreams of achieving true free trade in ECOWAS, because you're looking at a vast area, the entire West Africa. If we can truly integrate that West Africa into an economic entity, it will have a lot of potential. This is my own view, but it has not been developed. Nevertheless, the idea, the fact that ECOWAS has survived so far is laudable. I really I praise our leaders for at least sustaining that ECOWAS, with all its issues, because even NAFTA has its own issues, and NAFTA was recently renegotiated. In fact, it has changed its name. The new name is runs through my mind. I don't know what it is. I mean, I forget what it is because I'm used to the NAFTA, and everybody is still talking about NAFTA as if NAFTA is still the name, but NAFTA is no longer the name. Okay. All right. So, any other questions? Any other thoughts? All right. Thank you all for coming. Please do your best. Please submit your final project. I want to read those final projects. You know what the parameters are, and so I look forward to reading them. Thank you so much for showing up. And goodbye.
Thank you so much, sir. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.